Hello, welcome, everyone. MrWarrenHayes here once again with another G1 31 Climax of the New Japan Pro Wrestling show. Can I do that again? Hello, everyone. MrWarrenHayes here once again with another recap of nights 11 and 12 of New Japan's G1 Climax 31. I am glad to be here once again to talk about all the goings on in regards to the biggest tournament of the year coming out of Japan on an annual basis. I don't know why don't we just get to it? We're in, these officially from this point on, now that night 12 is closed, we're in the final third of the tournament. We're already there. And it feels like it flew by this year. Like there's years where you're like, man, I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. And you're like, maybe because I'm not waking up like at 3 a.m. to watch them all the time anymore. That could be the thing as well. Making it feel like it's not as invasive, huge, and it's like, yeah, we are in the final stretch here, so we can already start talking about eliminations. People are not going to make it, whose tournaments is effectively done. We got a few of those, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. I'm going to start by talking about Night 11, Block A action that occurred on October 7. We had the opener being Tanga Loa versus Kota Ibushi. This, by the way, on the prelim matches you had, I know, like, I don't spend much time talking about the prelim matches. I talked about this before, but we did have Kenta, who was slated to main event this show here with Tetsuya Naito. So he instead opened the show with his consolation match. I don't know if you want to call it what you want to call it. Hiromu Takahashi. Our boy Hiromu and Kenta. Fun little match. You can check it out. I thought it was very entertaining. Not a Hiromu pace of match, just so you know. It was very much a Kenta pace. But it lasted for a while, a good 20-some minutes. And the fact that it lasted so long, it had an impact on the lengths of some of the actual matches in who were the actual block matches that we had. So look, let's keep the flow going here. Let's go get right to it. Tanga Loa defeated Kota Ibushi no, sorry, it's the opposite. What am I talking about? Kota Ibushi defeated Tanga Loa. What am I talking about? Tanga Loa early on in the match starts beating Ibushi up on the floor, has him eat a spear, a slam on the apron. Back in the ring, he hits a standing moonsault on Kota Ibushi, which was really cool. It's an exploder suplex. Both guys trade forearms back and forth, and eventually Ibushi knocks him down with a flying kick. Hits a spinning power slam and the springboard moonsault. There's a blue thunder bomb by Tanga Loa as well. Tanga Loa powers through a reverse Kamigoye and nails one of his own, which was cool. He hits a German suplex, but Ibushi bounces back up with one of his own. Then there's a poison Rana right after that by Tanga Loa, and Ibushi goes to answer that with one of his own, with a poison Rana of his own, and he just whiffs it. Like, I mean, completely and utterly whiffs it. Just something you don't see Kota Ibushi do much, but it was pretty bad, and Tanga Loa sold it. Anyway, Bamaye attempt is countered by a spear, again by Tanga Loa. Ibushi counters out of the apeshit with a tombstone and hits the Kamigoye for the win. Outside of that stunning botch, this was a solid match. And this has been the story of Tanga Loa's tournament. I mean, this is going, well, I'll get to that. Well, no, I'll talk about it now. I mean, no, I think I might, since I'm into it, just in case I don't remember. Because here, the thing is that Tongaloa, his tournament has been very, very strong. Like, he wrestled in ways that we haven't seen him necessarily wrestle before. We've seen flashes of it, but you're in the G1, man. You're center stage. You're wrestling. You're wrestling. If not every other night, then every other night, and close to anyway. Look, this was very, very good. His tournament has been very, very good. But I'll tell you, the story of the G1 Climax 31 will be the performances from the, and I'm doing air quotes here, under guys who you just expect to just like lay down, take some pins. But no, we've seen incredible, very strong performances by the likes of Tongaloa, Chase Owens, Tamatanga. You're like, guys that you're all expecting that they're just going to lay down all the time. Yoshihashi had a particularly good match. We're going to talk about it. Or no, or did we already talk? No, we already talked about it. His match with Goto. Yeah, that was on the last recap. It's all blending together now, folks. My brain, it's all turning into one big pudding. But that was really good. It was really, really, it was really strong. A strong showing by the under guys. That's the one thing. That's going to be the story of the G131 when you start looking for positives out of this, right? Because it was not necessarily easy to watch on occasion. Zack Saber Jr. defeated Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Beam. This was not great. Got some low blow attempts by Yujiro, who's clearly he feels like he's, outclassed here. Low blow attempt early on, but Saber stops the arm and immediately starts to twist it. Then again, a little later on, he tries another low blow. Yujiro does, and Saber he tries with the leg, but Saber picks the leg, and then just like, and then Yujiro's in trouble at this point on. Yujiro finally gets the upper hand by biting Zack Saber Jr.'s toes, and like through the boot. Okay. And then there's ref distractions. Peter distracts the ref as Yujiro cracks his cane around across Saber's head. Yujiro walks him over. Zack avoids the Fisherman's Buster. Starts cranking on the left arm. Yujiro hits a slop drop and a Fisherman's Buster. Then he finally gets that, an Olympic Slam as well. Yujiro hits the Pimp Juice. He tries to wrap it up by getting Saber into the Big Juice, but Saber reverses out of that by, I'm going to try and explain it in the best possible way, hammer locking the left arm, then locking his legs around Yujiro's neck. We're on the mat here, and Yujiro taps. Again, like something just pulled out of nowhere. Zack Saber Jr. decided to call this move the Tesco Value Meal. He's just, Chris Charlton said it, and I agree. He's just taking the piss with these finisher names now moving forward. He's just like, I'll twist the guy, and then I'll come up with something. Tesco, a nationwide, a national supermarket chain in the UK. Oh, the Tesco Value Meal. And apparently they tried to sponsor Zack Saber Jr. They sort of reached out. There was a Twitter thing, just a little back and forth. It was like, hey, Zack Saber Jr., what do you think? Sponsorship. And I don't know if Zack accepted it. I don't think, I don't think he was. Yeah, it doesn't seem to quite jive with Saber's mantra overall. So Zack Sabre Jr. gets another 2 points. And you know what? I'm talking about the workers who, the under guys who worked really, really hard. I think I will create an exception here for Yujiro because he had an extraordinarily good first night because he overcame the Kota Ibushi on night 1 in a big shocker, and he had a really good night 3. But then I think from that point on, he's just been mailing it in. He's slowing everything down, just like he did here. Anyway, Junior stayed in control, got the win. But as far as all the the under guys working really, really hard, I'd say Yujiro is the asterisk here. Well, we got Dan from Pro Wrestling Eve in the chat. This is a true story. I'm the legit reason why Yoshihashi ditched the loose explosion nickname. There's a story you can send me in your DMs, Dan. In our DMs, I'd like to hear that one. And a Tesco value meal, and Dan is British, sandwich, packet of crisps or fruit, and a drink for £3.30. 30 pence, right? 3.30. That's not. That does sound like that would equivalent to what, $7? Something like that. $7.50. Not bad. And I know it wasn't a real sponsorship. I know. It just made me giggle to think that Zack, hey Zack, you want to sponsor Tesco? Zack's like, no. And we got Shingo Takagi defeating Toru Yano. Again, this is about $5. Okay. This again is about it's all about, do you like Toru Yano matches or not? I enjoy them, and I'll tell you, this is how I like Yano, and I've mentioned it a couple of times on the main show. The whole King of Pro Wrestling gimmick, I think it pushes Yano a little too much into always like this forced kind of silliness. Whereas when you get Yano in this environment where, especially in a tournament environment like this, where you expect him to compete and play by the rules, then when he starts pulling out his nonsense, then it's charming, it's fun, it's a little distraction from the rest of the proceedings. Whereas the King of Pro Wrestling, it's so ham-fisted and it's just too much in your face, and it lacks that little finesse, Zeus King, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. This is a good stream. So Yano has his bag, where he puts his things in, and there's a bag inside his bag here. And he wants Shingo to put the bag over his head. They want to have a blindfold match. He's proposing a blindfold match to Shingo. So he says, "Look, I'll put the bag over my head. You put the bag over your head." So Shingo, being a good guy, puts the bag over his head. Now I'm like, Shingo, you're not new to New Japan. You're not new to wrestling. What the hell are you doing, pal? Yano is not gonna, because you know what happens then. Shingo puts the bag on the head, like you and me know. Shingo puts the bag on the head. Yano takes his bag off, tries to roll him up for a quick win, and of course it doesn't work. And then Shingo's like, motherfucker. No, it's all on you, Shingo. We knew better. On the floor, Yano starts spraying hand sanitizer in the bag, then puts it back on Shingo's head. He tosses Shingo under the ring. And Shingo comes back out and he's confused because of all the fumes, I guess. Barely makes it to the 20 count before getting back into the ring. I'm like, all right. Yano takes off the pads. There's some turnbuckle pad fencing, and Shingo knocks him down with a lariat. Another lariat and a senton as well. There's actually some wrestling in this Yano match, and probably the most amount of wrestling from all of Yano's matches in the tournament. Yano hits a low blow that almost puts Shingo away, but Shingo hits a pumping bomber, a sliding D, and last of the dragon, and that's another 2 points for the champ. I thought this was, I'm in the crowd that enjoy Yano matches. I like Yano. I think he's fun. I like when my wrestling is fun. I like having fun. Like wrestlers in WWE, right? They like having fun. They like to have fun. And then we get the main event, which ruled. Tomohiro Ishii defeated the Great Okan. Guess what? This was extremely physical. I know, right? Wild. It was really good. Ishii gets tossed around on the outside. And Great Okan works his right arm. His right arm was already in a bad spot. Ishii's arm, of course. They both have some really great strong spots against each other. Ishii in the Tree of Woe. He gets a basement drop kick in the face for just hanging out there. They strike at each other a lot, strong style, and Great Okan really leans into Ishii's strikes. He's daring him to knock him out. And Ishii is no slouch, right? And of course he's going to go for that kind of challenge, right? He's going to jump right in. He's going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm going to knock you down, son. But no, Great Okan is just standing there and it's like he's taking his, just screaming at each other in this guttural Japanese, it's awesome. The final stretch gets rather intense. There's a gourd buster by Great Okan as he struggles back from being struck down by a relentless Ishii. Ishii fights out of an eliminator. He hits a German suplex on Great Okan. Great Okan comes back with a bicycle kick. Ishii fights out of another eliminator. And he wallops Great Okan with a huge lariat and hits the brain buster, the vertical brain buster, and he holds Great Okan there for an extra 2 to 3 seconds. Just to be like, look at what I can do. Great Okan is not a small dude. They wouldn't call him Great Okan. They'd call him Diminutive Okan. And then the gimmick wouldn't work as well because no one would be afraid of someone called Diminutive Okan. Who do that? Bad booking. Bad creative. Don't let me go off on a tangent here, folks. This really rocked. This was a solid, fantastic main event. This is the kind of recommendation that I would give out to you and say, look, if your time is limited and you just want to see some good stuff out of the G1, this is one that you zero in on. You can skip the rest of the evening. There wasn't anything really special. Loa versus Kota Ibushi was very, very strong. It was a strong match. Yujiro versus Zack Saber Jr., completely skippable. Shingo and Yano, completely skippable. Tomohiro Ishii and Great Okan, though, write that down. Take a little post-it and put it on your fridge. That's a good one. You're not going to be blown away. It's not match of the year. You're not going to be adding this on your list for the end of the year. I won't. I don't want to tell you guys what to do, but I mean, what I'm saying is don't expect to go into this match thinking, hey, Warren gave this an extremely high recommendation. I'm giving you a high, enthusiastic recommendation, but I mean, it's not like when I told you guys, Shingo Takagi versus Will Ospreay earlier this year was one of the greatest matches I ever seen. That's something else. All right, we'll keep it on the level. But do check this out. Two huge guys. It was all about who can hit harder and who can endure it more. It's not a fast-paced match, but it's not. I wouldn't call it slow, but every Sometimes you'll see a match fly by you so fast and be like, nothing was wasted, not emotion was wasted. And we usually reserve those comments for fast-paced matches where you're like, look at all this stuff going on. Look at all these holds here. I think this is applicable here nonetheless. No motions were wasted. No movement was just happened. Everything was methodical. Everything was well planned out. This was a good wrestling match. Very strong. Check it out. Night 12, which was today, October 10, on the day we're recording this. Yoshihashi defeated Tamatanga. This is a compelling, hard-fought match from two guys who are effectively eliminated from the tournament, though. I mean, what are you going to do? But, you'd swear that they're still jockeying for position here, because this was a very, very hard-worked match. Really good back and forth here as both guys try to hit power moves on each other. Tamatanga hits a stinger splash. They work in and out of moves until finally Tama hits a Tongan twist, the rolling DVD, and then the angel dive as well. He goes for a gun stun and gets countered by a backstabber. Yoshihashi hits a Kumagoroshi and covers Tama. He gets a razor thin 2.9, which was, I popped. I thought he had got him, but no. It's a dragon suplex. Yoshihashi ducks out of some gun stun attempts. Finally gets it with karma. Again, like just the night before, you've got Yujiro going through the motions. And then we come on to night 12 on the curtain jerker. Two guys who are eliminated. Technically, there's no reason for this match to happen. No reason to watch it. They can't. There's no. They can't. They're not even going to act as spoilers here. And they're working hard as hell. Yoshihashi it's been his thing as well. And Tamatanga, I think, has surprised a lot of critics or a lot of doubters, myself included. It was really, he's explosive, he's crisp, fast. That's his thing. Like for a guy his size, and I kept talking about, I think that the term I used most to describe Tamatanga matches throughout this entire tournament is explosive. I think that's the adjective I've used the most. It was good. It was good. And another good showing by Yoshihashi. COVID-19 coinciding with the Yoshihashi push. Coincidence? I think not, says Zeus King. Probably, but I think that last year they did decide to give him a little more shine, give him a chance. But you know what? It's paying off. Because longtime viewers of my and listeners of my stuff will know that, I like to goof on Yoshihashi. I think he looks a little dopey. I think he tries a little too hard and so on and so forth. But his work in the New Japan Cup last year, I thought was surprisingly good, and he's been one of their most consistent workers throughout this entire pandemic as far as quality goes. And in this G1, you cannot contradict how good he has been. He had one of the best matches of the tournament with Hiroki Goto 2 nights ago on night 10. So, and at the same time, we have to, is this a push? Is this a push? He's 1/3 of the never openweight 6-man title champions, 6-man tag champion. Do you consider that a push? I don't. I don't. Because I don't consider that they're pushing Hiroki Goto as well. I think they're being used well. But I wouldn't be surprised if over the course maybe of 2022, we start seeing Yoshihashi getting some big ass wins and maybe start to have his stock raised. Good match. By the way, night 12 I think you should sit down and watch it. It was a good time. Hiroki Goto defeated Chase Owens. First time that these two ever fought in a singles match. Fun. And Chase Owens, cut fresh off his surprise, shocking, world-shattering victory over Hiroshi Tanahashi, comes right out the gate with a shotgun drop kick, dives on Goto on the outside, missile drop kick. Like, he's not waiting around. He's not doing, no sizing the other guy up. He's like, nah, I'm in this to win this. His tournament was done. By he wasn't going to catch up by any stretch of the imagination. Not with only one win, but he's still going strong. He does this snapmare where he rolls through the snapmare into a last shot. Good shit. Owens, but at some point he gives some of it up. Goto hits a back body drop on Owens on the apron, which was pretty gnarly. They trade some strikes until Owens takes him down with a back elbow. Owens denies a Yushigoroshi and instead nails a V trigger, or as he likes to call them, a C trigger. Goto wiggles out of a package piledriver attempt into the Yushigoroshi position, but instead transitions into the GTR for the win. No, Goto's like, Yushigoroshi, let's just end this. Quamp. I got nothing to say about this match. Nothing wrong. Nothing bad. Thought it was it was a strong professional wrestling match. Chase Owens worked hard as hell again. And here's another guy whose stock has gone up in this tournament. Hiroki Goto, fantastic. Perfect opponent here. I love the pace. It felt desperate. Goto was taking off his game. Goto likes to, size his guys up and take his time. Owens is like, ain't having none of that. Just mortared through him. So Goto had to keep up with Chase's match here. Fantastic stuff. I loved it. The wily veteran, Hiroki Goto. The G in G1 stands for goose egg? No, Goto has 2 points. He's got 4 points now. Jeff Cobb defeated Sonata here. Sonata hits a flying senton off the apron, then asks for the audience to applaud because that's his thing. Instead of trying to win a match, he's going to take a good 30, 35 seconds, leave his opponent enough time to regain consciousness as he goes around going, he tries to if they ever decided to turn Sonata heel and you had Sonata do this to the audience, that would be great heel heat right there. Sonata back in the ring, tries to lift Cobb. Can't do it, tries again. Cobb shifts his weight and just splats him. Then Cobb starts to toy with Sonata during this part of the match. Some backbreakers. He hits a couple of backbreakers and just tosses Sonata aside like he's junk. We're on the floor. Sonata goes for the pescado, and Jeff Cobb catches him. Tosses him on the floor. Back in the ring, does the standing moonsault. Will I ever tire of seeing Jeff Cobb perform a standing moonsault? I think not. There's some back and forth. There's some back and forth, in and out of moves here. Get a tour of the islands that gets reversed into a skull end, into the Oklahoma Stampede, and then back into a skull end. That was fun. Sloppy Sonata pops his evil grin face back into the show here. He sloppies up an O'Connor roll. There's a springboard moonsault by Sonata that is caught by a standing Jeff Cobb, who catches him and then just shifts him around in his arms. The tour of the islands. Boom! He's done. Cobb is a beast. And again, you see, look, have you been listening to me? Have you been paying attention? I've been telling you, Jeff Cobb, they're positioning him as a beast, as a monster who can bulldoze through anything. That was one thing that was it. But what was the other thing I was saying? I was telling you, pay attention. Look at what they're doing. Tour the islands, building that as a move that he can pull out from any circumstance. Like he can just short arm you. He can just do it from a standing position. And look, he catches a guy in the air and he's like, no. And he just flips him around and hits his finisher. Cobb is dangerous. This is what New Japan is trying to tell you with his series of matches in this G1. He is undefeated. He has been crushing everyone. And his finisher's been popping out of anywhere. He can just do it out of anywhere. Why, hello there, Chris and Ashley, the First Lady of the MrWarrenHayes show. Yeah, getting the nuggies. Get them nugs. Evil defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi. There's not much to talk about in this match. There's not much to talk about in this match in regards to wrestling in and about itself. Because this was not about a wrestling match. You know, Kevin Kelly said at the start of the match, for the past 100 years, wrestling has been a story, one persistent story, one of good versus evil, and you couldn't have one more clear on that than Hiroshi Tanahashi versus a guy whose name is literally evil. Anyway, this was giving Evil a dirty win on one of the top guys in the company to sow the seeds of doubt in regards to how this block is going to finish. Tana tries to wrestle a straight up match, but it spills out onto the floor, of course. We get almost immediately a ref distraction. So Evil works Tanahashi's knees with a chair. Evil stays in control when Tanahashi tries to reverse it with eye pokes and hair pulls. Tanahashi tries to skin the cat at some point. Togo takes advantage of Evil distracting the ref to punch Tanahashi. They do the timekeeper table gimmick. They try to do the thing where Evil does the sharpshooter on the floor, very close to the 20 seconds. Tanahashi goes to get in. Dick Togo drags him back out. Yeah, all that stuff. Exposed turnbuckles. Nothing but chicanery throughout this match. Tana at some point hits a high fly flow on Evil's back, locks in the cloverleaf. The ref gets pulled out of the ring by Dick Togo. Evil is tapping. We get the visual submission, but the ref isn't there. Togo then gets put into the cloverleaf. Tana fights back on a 2-on-1, fighting both guys off. He hits everything is Evil on Togo, but eats a low blow from Evil. But then Tanahashi's like, I'm sick of you bastards. And he himself low blows Evil. It's like, fuck you. I can do this too. There's another ref bump, which allows Evil to clock him across the head with the IWGP US title. He hits everything is Evil, drags the ref over, gets the count of 3. Dirty win for Evil. Now, don't kid yourselves. I told you. Just when I started talking here. The idea here is to set doubt in the minds of everyone watching the G1. Be like, you know what? If Evil can screw himself into a win over Hiroshi Tanahashi, one of the top guys, he can do it to anyone at this point. And this is literally what this match was for. It's to establish, we're heading into the final third, the denouement of the climax this year of the G1. We're literally heading into the climax. And this is the story we're going to tell for the third act. Evil is going to do anything and everything to secure wins. Because he's up there. He's in the double digits now. He's at 10. We'll break down the blocks in a second. And in the main event, another solid, fun, good main event. Kazuchika Okada defeated Taichi. We have DDTs on the floor. Taichi slamming Kazuchika Okada into the barricades, and then he's pulling the mat off of the protective mat off the floor, and he's DDTing Okada right directly flat on the floor. Back in the ring, Taichi's in control, uses chokeholds. Okada gets pelted with those kicks and an enziguri, so those great Taichi kicks. Money clip by Okada, of which Taichi struggles out of. He avoids a Rainmaker and the Tombstone and hits a glorious super kick on Okada. Right on the button. They trade some kicks with each other. Taichi is really laying in on the kicks. He's absolutely beast mode. Okada reverses out of Black Mephisto just to get only to get a sit down pin attempt by Okada, of which he kicks out of course. Taichi lands the dangerous suplex, hits the axe bomber, but he runs into a super kick and the spinning tombstone. A little later, Taichi gets a Gedo clutch, locked in, almost gets the 3 count. His sumo charge is countered into the landslide and a Rainmaker. I'm not doing this match justice just by running through the notes I took. This was a great main event. G1 level, guys working hard. A guy like Taichi proving people like me wrong. And he's better than what he himself ever led on, if you ask me. It's not even a question of what we thought. I feel Taichi has always been the kind of guy who's, never really put the work in until they're like, yeah, we'll give you a serious push this time. This was a very, very, very good one. I got excited. Great stuff towards the end. And Taichi can go. The problem with Taichi, look, if it had been anyone else than fully reformed and devastatingly awesome Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada, Taichi would have had one this in the bag. Okada's just too strong. This is his tournament to lose. Fantastic main event. Look, night 12, treat yourself to a nice evening of wrestling. I'm recording this when I'm recording this right now, we're live. It's at this very point here. It's 8:11 p.m. Eastern time. Friday night SmackDown has started. We're probably still having Roman Reigns at this point chit-chatting. If you want, skip Raw. You can skip Raw too. Skip SmackDown tonight. Treat yourself to a great night of pro wrestling. A tight 2.5 hours of wrestling, courtesy of the G1 Climax, Night 12, B-Block action. You're going to enjoy yourself. You're just going to enjoy yourself. Don't you like enjoying yourself? There's nothing bad on this show. I mean, look, you can argue that the Tanahashi evil stuff was what it was. I mean, this was not about but it was not about the wrestling. It's about the story. So if you want to skip that, you can skip it. But if you want to see how they're positioning Evil for his last matches, please take a look, because this is going to make sense within the next 3 matches. So as it stands, if we take a look at the standings right here on the right side of your screen, Block A has Zack Saber Jr. and Kota Ibushi tied for 10 points apiece at the top of the leaderboard. And let's not forget that Zack Saber Jr. is the only guy who fought for all his points. He did not benefit from the Naito bump. Kenta, Great-O-Khan, Shingo, Tomohiro Ishii, and are all at 8 points. Yano is at the bottom at 6, and Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, Tongaloa and Tetsuya. Well, we knew Tetsuya Naito was already eliminated, but Yujiro and Tongaloa are officially eliminated. Depending on the results of what's going to happen on night 14, there is a strong possibility that Yano might be the next guy to be eliminated. In fact, there's going to be a couple of people who are going to be eliminated after night 14 here, in that cluster of 8 points right there. They're not all going to make it. They're definitely not all going to. They're not all going to make it. Let's take a look at who's what we have left here. Ibushi. Let's start with Ibushi. He has Great-O-Khan and Kenta left, which look, I think Great-O-Khan's run is done. I think he, as it stands, well, who does he have left? Because he has a very heavy back end of the tournament here. He's got Kota Ibushi and he's got Shingo. He's got Shingo Takagi. So the odds of Great-O-Khan scoring more points here are low. I would argue that Ibushi and Shingo are favorites in both of those matches. So Great-O-Khan, I think his tournament is going to stop at 8 points. I don't want to say he's eliminated because mathematically he still has a very good chance to win. But as it stands, even if he were to win some more matches and tie with Zack Saber Jr., for instance, he's already fought Zack Saber Jr. Jr. has the tiebreaker on him. So it's not looking good for Great-O-Khan, who has had a very good tournament. Kota Ibushi, as we said, has Great-O-Khan and Kenta left. Technically speaking, these again are two guys that he should be able to defeat. I think he's a favorite in both cases. I think the only thing that can make a difference here is Kenta sometimes can go either way. So at best, Kota Ibushi scores 2 more points, finishes at 14. Kenta on his end has Ibushi, of course, left. He has Ibushi left, Tongaloa, and Zack Saber Jr. left. I think he has a very heavy-handed final stretch as well. I don't think he's going to be scoring 6 points to wrap up his tournament. I don't think he's going to make it to 14. I don't think he's going to defeat Zack Saber Jr. Although that could be a surprise way to go about it. He's definitely going to defeat Tongaloa, and Ibushi can go either way. So to me, I think worst case scenario, he scores 2 points. Best case scenario, he scores 4. I think at best he's at 12. I don't think he's going to be a factor. Although he could potentially act as a spoiler for either Kota Ibushi or Zack Saber Jr. Because causing a loss to either of those two guys who are in the lead right now could spell the end of the end of the tournament for them. They could end up not winning the block because they are very well positioned to win the block right now. Tongaloa is officially eliminated. We'll just skip over that. Saber, Zack Saber Jr. on his end, he has Kenta. Just talked about it. He has Tongaloa. That should be a win for him as well. And he's got Yano. That should be a win as well. So I think his worst case scenario is he ends up kind of like Kota Ibushi with his worst case scenario is that he ends up with 14 points. Best case, he's got 16, which is a better scenario than what Kota Ibushi is staring down right now. Ibushi staring down Great-O-Khan and Kenta. Like, the maximum, all he can do here is score, the best he can do is score 14 points. If Saber wins all of his last 3 matches, he's good. He's good as gold. And even if he ties with Kota Ibushi, Saber has the tiebreaker. So even if they end up tied, Zack Sabre Jr. has to lose at least 2 matches, and Kota Ibushi has to win his next 2 for Kota to have a chance to win the block. That's how it's going to go. Now, don't sleep on Shingo, who is currently just hanging out in the back there with 8 points. But he's on an uptick. He's coming up here, and he does it, and he has a light end of block. He's got Great-O-Khan. Great-O-Khan is probably his most significant competition. Then again, Shingo is still, in my opinion, heavily favored here. So to me, that's 2 points there. He's got Tonga Loa. That's another 2 points there. And he's got Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Beam. And that's another 2 points there. So he has the potential to get up to 14 as well. Now the problem is that he lost to both Ibushi and Saber. So they both have tiebreakers on top of him. So his best case scenario is winning his next 3 matches. Zack Sabre Jr. loses 2, and Kota Ibushi loses 1. That's the best case scenario for Shingo moving forward. Tommy Ishii as well is in a good position here. He's got 2 matches left under his belt. And 2 easy ones at that. Ones that he should be able to win. Yujiro and Yano. Although Yano surprised Ishii in the past. And here's another guy who could end up with 12 points. And he has the tiebreaker with Zack. But Ibushi has the tiebreaker on him. Shingo has the tiebreaker on him. Kenta has the tiebreaker on him. Like, the odds are not in our boy Tommy's. The odds aren't in Tommy Ishii's favor for this one. Possible, still mathematically possible. The 3 guys have a tiebreaker on him. He needs 2 points, and he needs everyone else to start losing their matches. And he has no control over those because all he has left is Yujiro and Yano. Let's see what happens. And well, Yano has 6 points right now, and he has 3 matches left. He has Ishii, Zack Sabre Jr., and Yujiro. I mean, he could win all 6, go up to 12, but I don't think so. I think by the time we talk to each other on the next night, and we do this next week, I think Yano will be officially eliminated. So Block A right now has still a lot of possibilities, a lot of what ifs. It's looking like it's going to be between Saber and Ibushi. And all signs point to Saber having a very all signs point to Saber having a successful end of tournament with wins over Kenta, Loa, Yano. I think it's not improbable. And don't forget, Zack has tiebreakers over Shingo, over Great-O-Khan, over Ibushi. He is in the best position to win Block A. And why wouldn't he? Tournament form, Zack Sabre Jr. He was glorious. I don't know if he felt like he had to pick up the slack because Naito wasn't there. I don't know if this was the plan all along. I don't know. But he has been brilliant. Block B, it's a little more cut and dry. You've really got 3 guys vying for the top spot right now. Jeff Cobb, Kazuchika Okada, and Evil. Jeff Cobb and Okada are at the top at 12 points. Evil has 10. Hiroshi Tanahashi is at 6. And the rest of the field has all been eliminated. Taichi, Sanada, Goto, Yoshihashi, Chase Owens, Tamatanga. All mathematically impossible for them to make it to win the block. So they will all be spoilers at this point. Jeff Cobb. Like you said, he got through Sanada, which is the start of his perilous end of tournament, because as his tournament was very lightly stacked right up to now, and now he's getting the main eventers. He's getting the tippy top guys. What's up, Machine? Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. He's got Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's got Kazuchika Okada. He's got Evil. And all guys who technically are still in the running. Tanahashi's on the verge. But mathematically speaking, there's a possibility still for him to be in this. I said it at the start, and I'm staying down this track. They are setting Jeff Cobb up to be the final boss for Kazuchika Okada at the end of Block B, with Kazuchika Okada going over and going to the finals. That's still what I think what they're going to do. So I see him defeating Evil, defeating Okada, defeating Evil, defeating Tanahashi, but losing to Kazuchika Okada on the final night of the G1. That's how I see it so far. Because Cobb has destroyed everyone here. He hasn't lost a match. Kazuchika Okada's in the same boat. Hasn't lost a match. He's looking great. Top shape. Who does he have left? Jeff Cobb, Chase Owens, and Tamatanga. I think Okada, realistically, is going to finish the tournament with 18 points. I think he's going to have a perfect G1. I think they sowed the seeds of doubt with having Chase Owens defeating Tanahashi out of nowhere earlier this week. I don't think he's gonna repeat that. He got his win. He got his 2 points. He's on the board. He got a big win. But he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be served to Okada, and that'll be fine. Tamatanga, I think, same thing. Gonna be served up to Okada. Had a nice performance during the G1. Got his win. Let's move on. I don't think realistically Okada gets knocked out. I really don't. Now, Evil, I mentioned this. There's a reason why this match, why this victory with Tanahashi is so meaningful. They want to establish the fact that from this point on, in this final chapter, the third act of the G131, they want to establish the fact that Evil can sneak out a win off of any of these top guys that he has left to face. And he has Jeff Cobb left to face, Hiroki Goto, and Sanada, his old partner. I think it stands to reason that he can get a win over Sanada and Goto. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think worst case scenario, Evil finishes up Block B with 14 points. And as much as my prediction, my thoughts is that Jeff Cobb is going to plow through him, I would not be surprised if Evil gets the upset win, the surprise victory. We're due for one. We're going to be due for one by the time we get to Evil and Cobb. Then Evil all of a sudden gets an extra 2 points. Finishes the block with 16. But still loses because he has the tiebreaker to Okada. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do it because Okada already has the tiebreaker on Evil. If that was still up in the air, I think that's what they do. But I don't buy it. I think you want to lean into the drama of having Jeff Cobb, the invincible Jeff Cobb, versus the immovable object, Kazuchika Okada. Maybe I should have inverted those two. Jeff Cobb comes across more as an immovable object, whereas, invincible, you could give that just about to anyone. Who is invincible, of course. So Okada, to me, and Jeff Cobb is still the way to go. Because that's the point. It's like, at this point, even if Evil defeats Jeff Cobb, he's not winning the block. And that doesn't quite make it as compelling. Now, even if, and we've touched on the situation thanks to Chris Samsa, who said, what if Evil defeats Jeff Cobb and Jeff Cobb defeats Okada? Then what happens? And I should have done my research. It just popped into my mind. I didn't have it on my notes. What happens? Because then Evil has they'll all finish with the same amount of points. Let's say they finish with all three the same amount of points. Evil has the tiebreaker on Cobb, but Cobb has the tiebreaker on Okada, and Okada has the tiebreaker on Evil. So Chris Samsa was like, they'll do a triple threat. Maybe that's what we're staring down. But they won't do a triple threat because there's another level, and I'm trying to remember what the rules were. Because there is another, I don't think there's been another precedent, but then you go down further into the matches to find other tie-breaking situations. Because then you go down to, I don't quite remember, but this is something that we had researched a while ago when I was doing other G1 predictions, and I don't think it's going to happen. Because the triple threats are not part and parcel in New Japan. They're extremely rare, and they're a little frowned upon. Because New Japan likes its one-on-ones. Especially for their big matches. Particularly for their big matches. And like Machine pointed out in the chat, the Okada versus Cobb rivalry is developing beautifully. Why would you fuck around with that? Now, the only reason why I figure you want to fuck around with this is because you want to get Evil over as a big threat. Right? Remember the reports I was talking about on the main stream on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern? That Dick Togo was trying to get Shingo to drop the title to Evil before the G1, but then pick the title back up in time for Wrestle Kingdom, because they wanted to establish the House of Torture as, a main event threat, so you need the big title kind of thing. Gato shut that down. What if this is some kind of compromise here where it's like, yeah, we're going to establish that the House of Torture is a big deal by having the House of Torture fuck around with everyone's matches. And then come out on top and win the block. But I still don't see them. I still don't see Evil winning the block. It's highly improbable, but not impossible. Machine says, if Evil beats Cobb, I cancel my internet. Not just New Japan World. The internet. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be super interesting. And I think Tanahashi, despite the fact that he's mathematically still in this, I think he's persona non grata because I think he's losing to Cobb. He'll probably pick up a win on Taichi. Yoshihashi probably have some very good matches with all three of those fellas. But I mean, this is it, right? I don't think like his best case scenario right now is scoring 6 points, bringing him up to 12, and hoping that no one else goes over 12 points. Like I think effectively, as opposed to officially, his tournament is done. We'll see. But as it stands, what's coming up on the next two nights? We're going to tomorrow, Saturday, October 9, for some A block action. It's Tomohiro Ishii's night off, and he's going to be fighting Hiromu Takahashi. That should be a blast. Hello, DGMC. Welcome to the chat. As for the actual block matches, this is where we're getting the Zack Saber Jr. Kenta match. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be huge. This is really going to give us the picture as to how Block A is going to wrangle itself up. If Saber wins against Kenta tomorrow, I think he's clinched it. I think that means Zack Saber Jr. is the master of Block A for this tournament. Toru Yano versus Yujiro Takahashi. The Tokyo Beam. Shingo Takagi. I was gonna call him Shingo Takahashi. There just goes my fan fiction, just right out there into the open, into the universe. Shingo Takagi versus Tonga Loa, and Kota Ibushi versus Great Okan. Another big match for Ibushi here, one that has implications for the rest of the tournament as well. Let's not forget, Ibushi still has Kenta to deal with. If he can go through Great Okan, he's still alive. If Saber wins and Ibushi loses tomorrow, I think this one is in the bag for Saber. But if Ibushi wins and Saber loses, we can still talk about this. It's still very much up in the air, so we'll see what happens. Well, that should be a lot of fun. Otherwise, Block B, the second night after that, that's going to be happening on October 12th. We're going to have Taichi versus Tamatanga. We're going to have Yoshihashi versus Sanada. Kazuchika Okada versus Chase Owens. And that should be part of those easy 2 points, that easy 2-point run for Okada. Hiroki Goto versus Evil is going to be one we want to keep an eye on. And one of the big ones, Jeff Cobb versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Not only should the match be a lot of fun, but it's going to be doubly interesting in regards to results, the results of Block B. If Jeff Cobb wants to make sure that he gets to the final, he has to lock this one in. He absolutely has to lock this one in. And there we have it, folks. I'm going to lock this one in. I'm going to go catch the rest of SmackDown. I'm just kidding. We've got Wheeler Yuta and Alex Shelley happening on IWTV right now in the Untitled show. And then later on this evening, we're getting Daniel Garcia versus Minoru Suzuki. What do you think I'm doing? Gonna go watch 8 minutes of Roman Reigns talking? What are you talking about? Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I will be back then on after the next night of Block B. Therefore, on Tuesday, October 12th, I'll be back with another recap, breaking down the next 2 nights of action. I want to thank everyone for joining me live tonight. I want to thank everyone watching on their on-demand whenever you can. Appreciate it a great deal. We'll see you next time.